Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Today, the JonBenet Ramsey ransom note. Who wrote it? We're going to look at this true crime classic, and I'm not going to try and tell you who did it or what happened to the poor girl. I'm going to look only at the ransom note because, hey, this is all about the words people use, and so is this ransom note. So I don't need to set the story up for you, but there was this 2.5-page ransom note left when allegedly JonBenet's parents noticed that she was missing. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to look at the word choice inside this ransom note through the prism of truthful deception. And the part of truthful deception we're really going to look at this time is that lying is hard work. It's really hard to tell a lie. To tell the truth is really easy because we just say what we know, what we feel, and what we've experienced. To tell a lie, we have to construct a lie. We have to create it in our heads. And keep in mind all the things that we know, all the things we've experienced, all the things that we feel, to check that the lie tallies with them. So most of us will tell the truth because keeping a lie going is stressful and tiring. And I think that's what we're going to see in this note. Don't forget, this isn't just about having a laugh at whoever wrote this note. This is about giving you some skills and some techniques so that you can look at the words and statements all around you, whether that is in a documentary on TV, an interview that you're watching, or even just your friends and family, to see if they're telling the truth or not, just by analysing the words. If you've got a subscribe button, then press that, and that means you will get more videos like this, and you will upskill yourself very quickly on being able to understand what people are saying all around you. If there's a like button in front of you, I think about 1 in 10% of people who watch my videos press the like button. So you in that elite group, or are you with the herd that don't press the like button? The power of the like button is amazing. A video like this takes quite a long time to put together, hours in fact. It comes to you cost free, so if you'd like to press that like button, it does so much good. And as always, I love to hear your comments, questions or observations. I'm sure there will be so many on this, so if you share those either here on this platform or by social media, then if there's enough of them, we'll do a follow-up episode to this to deal with some of your questions or your comments, your observations or suggestions. So let's get into the words, and the things I want you to watch for, things that happen with liars, because lying is hard, is disappearance. What things are mentioned and then just sort of disappear or dribble away because they're not real, and the person doing the writing in this case doesn't have the ability to keep that lie going. And also inconsistency, that thing of lying is hard because you have everything that you know is real, and the lie has to match up with that as much as possible, which leads to a lot of inconsistency. So let's get into this ransom note. It begins, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. 4 words in, and I can tell you quite a lot. Mr. Ramsey, John Ramsey, he is the intended recipient of this note. This is all addressed to him. It's not addressed to anyone else. So this is all about Mr. Ramsey. And then listen carefully. This is a written note. Listen carefully. Interesting. Read carefully. Pay attention, but listen carefully. Why was that chosen? One possibility is that this note was dictated or spoken about. That would be why you use words like listen carefully. It continues, we are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. Interesting choice of words there. We, so this letter is to one person, Mr. Ramsey, but at the start it's coming from more than one person. We, and it's a group, so that's that. But then a group of individuals. What other type of group is there? And we'll see all the way through this note that words and concepts that just don't need to be said are brought in. We are a group of individuals. Now, the strongest theory about this was it was written inside the Ramsey's house. So if that was me, I wouldn't think I had a minute to waste writing out things that didn't need to be written, but that seems to be something that happens quite a lot here. We are a group of individuals. Represent is an interesting word there. So not saying they're from this small foreign faction or are this small foreign faction. They just represent the small foreign faction. What does that mean? I mean, it could be they're mercenaries working for this faction, but very interesting that they've chosen to use the word represent rather than being that small foreign faction. And foreign is an interesting way of looking at it as well, because we very rarely describe ourselves as foreign. We think of other people as foreign. If they don't come from where we come from, then they are foreign. But we very rarely think of ourselves as foreign. Same with faction. People don't consider themselves a faction. They consider themselves a group or a cause or something like that. People don't consider themselves as a faction. Faction is the outsider looking in. So what's going on here? Well, it's certainly outsiders looking in. And it could be that mercenary theory I spoke about. So they represent this foreign faction. So mercenaries would be outsiders. They would represent people. They would think that people from another country are foreign, and they would think they are a faction. The other thing that could be going on in here, and I'm pretty damn sure this is what's going on, is that this is just total tosh. It's not written from the point of view of individuals representing a small foreign faction or people in a small foreign faction at all. I'm just on the first line of any meat in this ransom note, then I think this is deception in this note. I don't believe that this is a note from a group of individuals representing a small foreign faction. The words just don't add up. The note continues, we, and then there's something crossed out, and that a lot of people look at what's crossed out and think that it's significant. It might be, but on the other hand, we all make mistakes. We cannot tell anything from what is crossed out. Was it deliberate? Was it a mistake that leads to something and tells you something? It could be. Ultimately, though, we all make mistakes. We all misspeak. You cannot read too much into one thing. So we respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. All of this, why is any of this important to say? Is it to get across the fact that business is not the target specifically? Is this protecting John's business? We will see a lot of protecting of John Ramsey going through this letter. So could that be why that is there? Look, again, this is coming from more than one person. We respect, we have your daughter, our possession, follow our instructions. So this is building on that opening, which was we and our. This is all from one person. It says here that she is safe and unharmed. And I wonder why they wanted to bring this up at the moment. I think one of the reasons why it could be, and we'll see as we go through the letter, I think this was written after JonBenet was killed. So I don't believe at this point she is safe and unharmed, and it's why they have mentioned that at this point. Remember I said I don't think these people are foreign. They say if you want her to see 1997. Now, this does not mean anything. All I will say is that that is a very Western and very Christian concept, to talk about someone seeing the next year in that calendar, that the new year is celebrated in that way at that time, is a Western concept. What is the motivation behind this group? Why are they doing what they're doing? We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. It doesn't say anything at all. It doesn't say why they respect the business, and it doesn't say why they don't respect the country that it serves. So who is the target here? Is America the target here, or does John's company serve other countries? I don't know. But there's nothing to link in because we don't like America. We've kidnapped your daughter. That it doesn't say that. It's kind of what it is alluding to, but it doesn't say that. I think, again, this is deception. When we're deceiving and we don't have the authentic feelings and thoughts inside us, then we find it much harder to verbalize it or write down what is going on. And I think that is what is going on here. Deception. I don't think this is about a hatred for America or any other country that John Ramsey's business serves, or about his business. They respect his business, apparently. At this time, we have your daughter. She is safe and unharmed. And I found that combination of wording, again, this is why I think she was dead at the time this was written. At this time introduces the concept of at this time, so potentially there is a future time when she will not be safe and unharmed, as if they know the outcome that is going to happen. At this time, she is safe and unharmed. At a future time, she is not going to be. The note continues, you will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate sized attaché to the bank. The last segment that we looked at started with respect for John's business, and here there's more care for John. John has to make sure that he brings an adequate sized attaché to the bank. They want John to get it right, which is very, very interesting. There is concern here for John. But when I look at the whole thing here, this is from the point of view of the person doing the withdrawing of the money. You will withdraw the money from your account. Now, they don't know John's financial arrangements. Well, they obviously do know something about John's financial arrangements, but they know that in his account is that money. So they haven't said you will get us £118,000. Don't care how. Could come from your business account, could come from your savings account, could come from your checking account. No, that will be withdrawn from your account. They know, the person who's written this knows there's £118,000 in the account. Interesting. Really, really interesting. You will withdraw, not get. You know, it's what these people care about is the money. It would seem to be. If it is an abduction, a kidnapping, this is a ransom note. Shouldn't care where the money comes from, but they know where that money is going to come from. They know exactly where that money is going to come from. For me, this is written in the eyes of the withdrawer. You're going to get that money out of your account. By the way, make sure you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. Do you ever go shopping and take a bag with you? And you make sure, I'm going to get a few bottles of wine today, so I'm going to take a big bag that can carry a few bottles of wine because they're heavy. This is in the mind of the person doing the withdrawing, not in the mind of the person wanting money. The note continues, when you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. We've got the repeated concept of the money is in this attaché case and then it's going to be moved to the brown paper bag. But notice that this person assumes or knows that John Ramsey has access to a brown paper bag big enough to take that consignment of banknotes that has been ordered, because he's not asked to make sure he has a brown paper bag that's big enough to hold the money, only asked to get the attaché case that is big enough to hold the money. They know where this money is, and they know there's a brown paper bag somewhere in John's reach that is big enough to hold this money. This section here shows they have a lot of knowledge of John Ramsey's situation. And if you look at just all of this, it could be written from the viewpoint of the person doing the withdrawing, because it's all about them. It's not about what the person writing the ransom note wants. It's about the actions that the person getting the money will take. Interesting. The note continues, the delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier delivery pickup of your daughter. Concern for John again. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. We keep seeing this concern for John through this note. Notice that we're starting to go between I and we now in writing this. So I advise you, that means comes from one person. Previously it's all been we, but if we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you to arrange an earlier delivery. So we're starting to mix up the I's and the we's. And this is interesting. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early. They haven't actually said when he should get the money. So how would he know what early is? Yeah, said they'd call between 8 and 10, quite a wide window. But They haven't said how to get the money early. There's a step missing there. And why say this at all? Why not just give a precise time there? Again, written from the viewpoint of the person. Oh, I might get the money early. The person demanding the money might just give them a deadline for the time, but they know John can get this money from the bank really quickly. Is that what's going on? Does the person writing this know how quickly John can get the money from the bank? And he could do it earlier than that, 8 o'clock in the morning. It's really, really strange. The knowledge this person seems to have of what is going on in John's world. Pickup of your daughter worries me. Again, pickup feels, it's not safe return. It's an earlier delivery pickup of your daughter. I don't like that. Again, makes me think that they're not talking about a person that is alive. More from the note. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. Any deviation of my instructions. Not you will do exactly as I say. They seem to offer John a lot of choice in this note. And there can be deviations of my instructions. They're just not in charge of what's happening here. John seems to be the one that's in charge of what's happening here. Any deviation of my instructions, I'm sure you've noticed as well, it's my instructions. It's from one person again. All the way through this note, they refer to JonBenet as your daughter, never by any name. They know a lot about John, about his business, about how much money he's got in the bank, about the brown paper bags he has able to lay his hands on. But they don't, well, I'm not saying they don't know what JonBenet's name is, but there's a distance there. She is always referred to as your daughter. We've seen a lot of concern for John, but now here comes some brutal language. The execution of your daughter, her remains, proper burial, the sadistic language there that comes through here. Really quite brutal language. But still concern for John, because any parent who has a daughter killed or even just has a daughter that dies would want a proper burial, and they are thinking in John's terms again, that he would want a proper burial, and that it should affect him that he won't get a proper burial. So again, it's almost at John's point of view. They are thinking about the things that he would like. The note continues: the two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Again, this is from one person. I advise you. And these two gentlemen do not particularly like you. That's very soft. Not hate you, abhor you, do not like the things you do or the company or country you serve. No, they just do not particularly like you. Could be a little bit sarcastic, but interesting. Why do they just not particularly like you? It seems to be, again, on sort of John's side. We all know people that we don't particularly like. We don't hate them. We wouldn't kidnap their children. These just do not particularly like you. Really interesting choice of words. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. Another brutal word there. They are not skipping the brutality of what could happen to JonBenet or what, in fact, this is worse than what happens to her, I would think. So, really, really brutal language. Again, from John's point of view, speaking to anyone about your situation. It's in the head of John. These guys really, really good at being in the head. It's not speaking to anyone about this or speaking to anyone about what's happening, or if anyone finds out about what's going on, or keep this between ourselves. No, it's talking about your situation, the situation that you are in. And we always think about our own situation, not often about other people's situations. Interesting. And I would just want you to note, before we move on to the next part, that the first group of people that he is told not to speak to are the authorities, the police, the FBI. Here's the next section. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. So we're into a very lyrical phase of this. It's almost got a rhythm and a beat to it here. Well, I mentioned the first group of people that he was told not to talk to were the authorities, the police and the FBI. And then it's a dog. Then it's bank authorities. Then the note should not be marked or tampered. And electronic devices are also a no-no. The order we list something in is normally really important. It gives us some indication of someone's priorities. But here they are. The police, a dog in second place. Bank authorities, marked notes, electronic devices, I get, along with the police. Why does this dog come in second? Why do they, I know it's metaphorical, but why introduce again this concept that is just not needed to be there? Don't talk to the police, don't talk to the bank authorities, don't mark or tamper with the money, and do not have electronic devices. Again, look at the repetition of you, John, you. This is really focused on what John does. You talking to a stray dog, you alert the bank authorities, you will be scanned. This is all about John's actions. More brutality, you might have noticed as well, the repetition of she dies, she dies, she dies, she dies. But look how qualified this is. He can talk to a stray dog, and only trouble will happen if we catch you. The same thing with electronic devices. If any are found, then bad things will happen. It doesn't just blanket outright say, don't talk to anyone, don't have any electronic devices, you will be scanned, right? So only bad things will happen if they catch them. You can try to deceive us, but be warned, we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Once again, we've got the brutality there with the word killing. No problems using brutal language about this young girl, JonBenet. Again, John is given the freedom here. You can try to deceive us. These are not instructions. This is allowing him, giving him the free agency to do what he wants. Yeah, it does say that there will be repercussions if he does, but really this person is letting John kind of do what he wants. And here, again, John is the center here. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter. It is saying that John will be the person who kills his daughter. That's really, really brutal. But once more, all about John. He's told, follow our instructions and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You stand a 100% chance? Well, 100% is not a chance. It's a certainty. So again, I think this was written when they knew what the outcome was. They knew that JonBenet was dead. Because even though they're saying it's 100%, they're still referring to it as a chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Scrutiny is an interesting word because scrutiny is when you look at something, you examine it, and then you decide what you think. So there's nothing in there of you and your family are being watched. One false step, bad things will happen. Yeah? No, it's scrutiny. They're being watched to see how they react. Interesting choice of words. The next section of the note is, don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It's up to you now, John. Now we seem to have another reason for why this is happening. So what have we had before? We've had the fact that they don't respect the company. And now we've got that John is a fat cat. He's a very rich businessman. So there's no consistency as to why this is happening. Remember, the people don't particularly like John as well. Well, that seemed quite personal. But this is more about the fact that he's got money, that he's a businessman. Just no consistency as to why this is happening. Again, why I think this is a deceptive note. Once again, don't try to grow a brain, John, is quite a gentle jibe. You know, that's the sort of thing you say to someone, oh, Don't try and grow a brain, John. Just do the simple thing. It's not you're stupid, you're an absolute idiot, so do not think that you can outsmart us at all. No, it's just don't try to grow a brain, John. And also, fat cat is one of the nicer ways of talking about businessmen that you don't like. You could call them greedy, rich, abusive, exploitative, whatever it is that you want to call them. Fat cat is quite a nice way of describing that group of people that you don't like. I found this section interesting. Don't try to grow a brain, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. Now, what you might notice as well, good Southern common sense of yours is a nice thing to say about John. He's got common sense. It's a good thing. Very nice about John here. And certainly when they could be horrible, they refrain from being really, really horrible to him. But it strikes me, have you ever been in a situation where you've made a mistake, you've erred, you've done something you shouldn't, you've deleted computer files you shouldn't, you've got yourself into some sort of trouble with your mouth or something like that, and you negatively self-talk to yourself and go, oh, a bloody idiot, I shouldn't have done that. And then eventually you calm down a bit and then you go, well, wait a minute, I'm a sensible person, or I've got some good ideas, or if I just do the right thing now, we can get out from beyond this. I can ask for help, or I can undelete the file, or whatever it is. And that's what this pattern of speech reminded me of. Don't try to grow a brain, John. Damn, I've done something stupid. Use that common sense of yours. But I have common sense. I am a smart person. I can get myself out of this. That's what that section reminded me of. And once again, it's up to you now, John. Is giving John all the power, giving John all the freedom. The note finishes with victory. SBTC, and enough has been spoken about that part. I won't go into it. So that's the note. I said, look for what disappears. Well, what disappears? The group of people, the faction is mentioned once and then never again. The foreigners, that's mentioned once and disappears. The hatred for America disappears. We don't respect your country, never mentioned again. And the safety of JonBenet is not mentioned again. She's safe and unharmed at the very beginning, but that disappears entirely and it only talks about bad things happening to her. What does appear during the note? Control for John. It says it's in your hands, but it gives him more and more control over what happens, gives him permission to try and do the wrong thing. It does say don't try it, but it does say you can try it, you can do this. So control for John grows as this letter continues, as does the violent language that comes in talking about JonBenet. And what's inconsistent here? The reasons for the abductions, we've spoken about that as we've gone on. Is it because he serves America or some other country? Is it because they don't like him personally? Is it because he's a fat cat? They're just inconsistent reasons as to why this happens. And also the pronouns, that sometimes it's we, us, our, and sometimes it's I, my. So sometimes it's representing a lot of people, sometimes it's only representing one people. What themes do we see coming through in the letter as well? I see the theme of the death of JonBenet. That is one of the repeated concepts all the way through this, as is the brutality of the death. That is mentioned a lot. And the common theme all the way through, from how it opens to how it is written, John Ramsey is at the centre of this. So what conclusions have you got? What do you think, having looked at the words and having thought of that? I know what I think. I think whoever wrote this is very close to John Ramsey. So close, they can envision things through his point of view. They know what's in his head. They know what resources he has, from paper bags through to money in his bank account. So close to John Ramsey that they find it easier to say very brutal things about his daughter than to make properly disparaging remarks about him. This note is much kinder about John Ramsey than it is about his daughter, and I think that is very significant. And I think it was written after JonBenet was killed. Look, I want to be very clear. I don't know what happened to JonBenet. I don't know who was responsible. But if you ask me right now, who do I think wrote or dictated that note? John Ramsey would be the person that best fits my observations. you're learning from this, if you take away anything, just watch when people are talking for things that disappear, things they mention once and then don't mention again, and inconsistency in what people say. Both of those things will imply that some deception is happening. Would you share this with someone? Do you think you know someone who finds it interesting? Then please do share this content with them. That helps the word get out. As I said, the like button is tremendously powerful, and if you press it now, then that means that this gets out to so many people. And if you want more like this, subscribe to this channel, and you will be upskilling yourself and really interested, I hope, in some of the observations about people in the news and crime stories as well. If you want more, you can get it at neveratruerword.com, and we'll see you again soon for more from Never a Truer Word.